Okay, so I hope that we are live and I hope that people can hear us. I can't see how many people are actually watching us right now, so I would have to go to YouTube to actually do that. So let's do that and see if we have any people. Can't see there either. So never mind. We're live and we're going to do some coaching. So Alex is here with me today. So this is going to be all about Alex and his journey of quitting carbs, sugar in particular, but we also have a milk issue, I think.
Hmm.
Or
Yeah.
we did last year anyway. And yeah, so Alex, you have been on Bart's channel several times. You were talking about switching to the carnivore diet, over a year ago. And we were more working behind the scenes, but this time I thought I'm going to give you a kick up the backside. So I'll bring you on here for some extra accountability. And if you just want to kind of, I don't know how much you want to share about what happened last year, etc. But if you just want to give people kind of a heads up about who you are, where you're coming from, just a short version. I know that you can go on for 3 hours if you want it.
It's not true. Um, Only if I'm paid. No. Okay, the short version is that carbohydrate addiction runs in the family on my maternal side. My mother, my auntie, my grandmother, and my great grandfather were all binge eaters. My grandmother and auntie were obese. So, my mother has used compulsive exercise to outrun weight gain. So she's always
Mm.
sort of on top of it. But she has problems with sugar. And when I was a child, I was categorized, as a lot of people back then were, as just greedy, fat, um, in need of reducing calories and increasing exercise. The standard assessment, which is still quite prevalent today.
Oh, yes.
Um, and basically, everything was fine until my 19th birthday. And then I started to develop early signs of depression and anxiety. And what had previously been, I guess I could describe just a healthy, well, not healthy, but a kind of an avarice for eating in a broad sense, became something quite ugly and quite sickly. And that's when I started locking myself in my room and eating, um, yeah, lots of refined carbohydrates. And yeah, sort of ever since then, from 19 to 36, I've been stuck, imprisoned by this really self-destructive habit of basically, yeah, binge eating and being trapped in this cycle of constantly thinking about the next binge and the next influx of carbs. Um, it's taken me a long time to realize that it has ruined my life, in the sense that whoever I could have been didn't manifest, because my mind was wholly preoccupied with the addiction. And as a lot of addicts, across the whole spectrum of addictions know, um, addiction renders you weak, neurotic, depressed, anxious, and in some cases, one's behavior becomes pathological and quite destructive. Um, so I've been on this journey of, yeah, isolation with my addiction, depression because of the addiction, and basically, yeah, I have my traumas, I have, my shortcomings and things that were missing from my childhood, as almost everybody does. And I think I made the mistake for many years of having therapy and doing a lot of introspection, trying to find a an existential answer to the problem of why I was binge eating. I had this completely incorrect model in my mind of there's some sort of trauma, there's some sort of cause going back to childhood or adolescence. And if I could just identify it and heal, then this compulsion to binge eat will just magically disappear. And I was stuck in that rat's maze for 2 decades. And then in 2018, I came across the carnivore diet, which has subsequently given me the opportunity to watch hundreds upon hundreds of videos of different people in the carnivore community. And if you basically, what I've learned is if you pull on the carnivore thread, eventually you're going to get to the subject of addiction. And there's one side of the spectrum where people are healing autoimmune disease with carnivory, but I'm starting to see now there are just as many, if not more, people who have to have a carnivore diet because they're hopelessly addicted to carbohydrates, and it seems to be a sustainable solution long term. And I've been trying to establish myself for the last 4 years as a member of this newly formed group, and I've faltered. I've started the diet and then quit, and started and quit, but I believe now that I'm finally here and I'm ready to do it and ready to say yes to a life where I sacrifice all of the pleasure on which I have depended up until now in eating, sacrifice all of that comfort, all of that reliance, and the sense of purpose and sort of illusory meaning that it gives me. I'm ready to finally sacrifice that now, so that I can actually be free of addiction. And it sounds like a cliche, but it is true. The thing which I'm anticipating is, for the first time in my life, learning who I am. I think addiction has been a wall between me and my identity, and so that's why I've come to you and Bart, because you both seem like the most approachable and competent and salient on the issue, and and I'm here because I need help. I can't do this on my own.
So what we were coaching over a year ago now, and so you have the tools, you kind of know what to do. So what's preventing you from doing that? Because I already been teaching you everything that you actually need to know.
After a lot of introspection, I think the most candid answer I can give is I'm trying to hit the brakes and turn around, metaphorically speaking, a tanker, and that tanker is my identity, and the tanker is a slow suicide. Like, all of my beliefs and programming and habits that I've formed since I was 19 years old have all been negative, depressive, self-destructive. And the truth is that they're like a lot of addicts. There is a part of me that it has been seeking annihilation, but has wanted to do it in sort of slow, safe steps, so that at any moment I can choose to turn around. So yeah, I'm fighting with a lot of demons. I have cultivated, through habit, a very doom and gloom, apocalyptic mindset. Quite a fearful and anxious person at times, and and sugar, I suppose, is my emotional confidant, and it has been the only thing that can sort of douse the flames inside over the years, when just the stress and the instability, the sadness, the anger, the rage at myself and then at the world onto which I project just becomes too much. So I suppose the reason why it's taken me these many years to get to this point where I'm finally ready is because um, I've had a great battle internally to try and convince myself that a positive mindset is worth investing in, because you know I have had, I suppose I've been a bit of I suppose sort of the adolescent edgelord who just conflates people who are good in a good mood and who are good natured and positive and quite sanguine as being idiotic. That is a very, very strong part of my identity. For many years I've sort of amassed a knowledge of everything that's wrong with the world, of everything that makes the world a tremendously sad and intolerable place. So of course, anyone I encounter who has a sort of upbeat, optimistic mindset, I just sort of think, you must be fucking stupid. You absolutely, you must be willfully blind to the world in which we live. And I think um, I realized that I made being positive and optimistic conditional to both the world and myself changing, and it's impossible. It's never going to happen. So yeah, the main change, the reason why I'm ready now is because I'm finally starting to relax and let go of that part of my mind that wants to control everything, to force myself to perceive everything in this cynical, pessimistic way. I'm starting to allow my mind to entertain optimism and positivity.
Okay, so what would the best case scenario be in 6 months when we have had our last session on YouTube? Whether we're going to continue after that or not is irrelevant. What's the best case scenario in 6 months? What would have happened by then?
Best case scenario is that I can look at myself in the mirror and say that for the first time in my life that I completed a self-improving process, that I committed to something and I stayed the course, um, which is something I have desired for many years, and this is why I'm making weight loss and overcoming sugar addiction and through the carnivore diet as my project. This is going to be my first demonstration to myself that I can commit to something positive and see it through and endure all hardships. So best case scenario is that um, that I actually get there and I achieve this. And achievement, what that looks like is a body weight which may not be perfect, but I'm hoping is a lot closer to where it should be, a body fat percentage that is. I'm hoping that through zero carb carnivore and through periods of fasting that I can reverse acid reflux with which I have suffered now for 4 years. Already, after a week of doing zero carb carnivore, my reflux symptoms have improved, and the removal of milk has really helped that. As you mentioned earlier, I'm something of a milk fiend. When I discovered raw milk, I discovered, I suppose it'd be fair to say, I discovered a way to binge compulsively, but with less of an inflammatory consequence, and perhaps, you know, a few fatty acids and water-soluble vitamins, thrown in to sort of to help me justify to myself, oh, I know it's a superfood. But the truth is, drinking 2 liters of raw milk a day for the last 4 years, which I have, has been one of the things that has prolonged, not exacerbated, but certainly prolonged my suffering with acid reflux. I know that if one suffers with hyperacidity of the stomach and also obesity that compresses the stomach, to cause problems with the valve leading up to the esophagus, that pretty much any carbohydrate is a bad idea. Yeah. So I want to overcome acid reflux, lose weight, and I want to start a YouTube channel documenting as frequently as I can my weight loss journey, and leave that as a legacy to the carnivore community, which to my knowledge, doesn't yet have a day-by-day demonstration of weight loss through carnivory. There are lots of before and after pictures on
You better
Facebook.
start now.
Yeah.
Don't wait.
Promise, I will. I
It
promise.
doesn't have to be perfect. Believe
I don't
me,
know
I
what
have
it is.
many imperfect videos.
Yeah, there's definitely the perfectionist. It's weird when I'm in a conversation like this. My my streams of consciousness are, they are cogent, they're coherent. There's no umming and ahhing but when I sit just in front of my telephone recording myself, I just become blubbering imbecile, and I have to sort of start again and again. So
Put a photo of
yeah,
me on the camera.
yeah. It's the process is it's making. I've tried making the video, but it does make me uncomfortable, and I need to find a way to overcome that.
Okay, so I have a few thoughts about what you said. So the best case scenario, I think the first answer that came to you is that you want to complete the process. Now, I'm just a little bit curious, what is the process? Like, is that my process? Or what do you mean when you say you want to complete the process?
Well, just for clarity, because I haven't read your material for at least a year.
Yeah.
As I understand it, you help people recover through neural pathway reprogramming and through like self-documentation of one's cravings and thoughts and feelings around them. And yeah, I certainly want to go through that system which you've created, use your method, because I don't have any of my own. I've made the decision to stop eating carbs, but that's not necessarily doesn't endow me with any tools to deal with the inevitable cravings which are waiting for me for sure.
Yeah.
They're coming. So
Okay.
yeah.
So that's great. So one of the things is, ideally you will have committed to the process and you will stay the course and you will keep doing it. Then you brought in the things that I want to question. You want your body weight to be closer to the fat percent that it isn't. You want your acid reflux to be gone, and you want to have started your YouTube channel. What if none of that happens? What does that mean?
Well,
If all you did was following the process, you quit the carbs, but you don't get the results.
what does that mean in 6 months? Like, as in, what do I think? What would I think it
What
meant
would you
in
make
six
that
months?
mean? Yeah. Have you failed?
Well, I've failed. I failed to live up to my expectations in that case, by definition. But in a broader sense, going 6 months without carbohydrates is no failure. It's nothing to turn one's nose up at. but I don't think I'm going to make it for the next 6 months without using the channel and utilizing your services and your guidance to maintain that accountability. It's not a coincidence that the moment I became ready, to put the carbs down and to endure the withdrawal symptoms of going sugar free, that you were the first person of whom I thought. The process of losing weight and working with you and Bart are inexorable. They're inseparable. They are one and the same. So I don't just want to lose weight. I don't just want to do it for myself. As I said to Bart over a year ago, I want to do the channel because everything that I'm going to be doing in the next 6 months to a year is based on knowledge that some very brave and hardworking people have put out there on the internet to disseminate. And I have just sat here stuffing literally like sometimes popcorn into my gullet. I was going, oh yes, cut carbs
I wanted
out.
popcorn yesterday.
Yeah.
Just telling you. I was thinking about popcorn. I had some cravings.
Yes. I think I made popcorn last July and then covered it in salted caramel. That was,
Ugh.
yeah, that was a hard time. But yeah. So I want to, again, another cliche, but I wish to give something back. And I think I thought at one point about starting a channel, but I was lost. I was struggling to establish in my mind what value I could bring to the community, and then it occurred to me that, as I said before, that there's no video documented example yet of someone saying, look, I'm obese, I'm 60 kilos overweight, I'm not going to do calories in, calories out, I'm not going to eat sticks of celery and do juice fasts and do 5-mile jogs and destroy my heart and destroy my joints, and I'm going to eat fat and protein to satiation. I'm going to do water fasts, snake juice fasts and dry fasts. I'm going to do basically everything that the average GP would warn against. And yeah, I want my contribution to be a number of things. I want it to be encouraging to addicts, so I intend to speak candidly and openly about all aspects of the person I have become through addiction, to try and show through some self-awareness of my own problems, plant a few useful ideas into the viewers, some of whom I imagine will be addicts themselves. I want to provide some proof to be leveraged against the ever-growing propaganda against meat and saturated fat, and the increasingly sinister and pernicious messaging from the corporate world and from the media that plants equals vitality and the antidote to climate change, and meat equals metabolic disease and eventual global catastrophe.
Can I stop you there? I know that you're going to go on a rant here.
No, I'm not. No, that really was the end.
I want to stick with the coaching. Yes. So the only thing that you have control of here is actually starting your YouTube channel. So my point was that your body weight, you can only do what you do. Your body decides when it's going to release that fat. But if you know that you are doing the right thing by cutting out the carbs and staying the course, I would consider that a huge win. Whether the weight is, maybe you just lose a few kilos, maybe you lose a lot. You're still quite young. I suspect that a lot will come off, but if that didn't happen, I would not see that as a failure because it's not within your control.
Well, I mean, I would just simply keep going. I mean,
Yeah.
6 months was a number that um, that you came up with. I actually was playing more with a duration of roughly 12 months.
Yes.
Because for me the goal is not just weight loss, but also like building muscle and becoming more athletic, and I'd like to start training weightlifting. I'd like to use whatever testosterone I have left, to actually put some muscle on before. I mean, I'm
Yeah,
36
and you
now.
can do all those things. So if you can think about this as what you want to achieve, and the best case scenario is that you are sticking with your new habits, because those will eventually give you results, rather than being focused on the result that you cannot control. Does that make sense?
Yeah, yeah. Well, that leads me to my first confession. I said I was going to be candid, so here we are.
Yeah, go
Uh,
for it.
I'm I'm not presenting this as a position that I would defend. It's just I guess it's the I guess as young as Young wrote about often, the mind likes to make deals with itself, and I think a part of my mind has wanted to make a deal with me, and I've been hearing this voice a lot saying, "Okay, I'll go zero carb for a year, lose all the weight, get fucking ripped, make the YouTube channel, make a tiny little dent in the community, and then when that's over, I'll let you consume roast potatoes again, milk again, wine again, ice cream again, all of these things, and then we'll just play outrun the weight gain with exercise, and or something unhealthy and pie in the sky. So that's why I think that's the reason why I say a year and I focus on the results.
Mm.
It's in part so that I can give the addict part of my brain a little bit of hope that at some point in the future it can have a place in my habits again, which could actually prove to be catastrophic. Um,
Yeah.
so, but there is another voice. There's a counter to that, which is equally as strong and influential, and that counter voice says that maybe a year of enjoying low inflammation, high energy, reduced sleep requirements, better mood, better libido, better mental health, that getting out there again on my rollerblades and training Brazilian jiu-jitsu and progressing in both, um, that actually I won't want to go back. That I won't want
Yeah.
to. It won't be worth it. It's just. I mean, look, it was my birthday last Tuesday, 8th of March, so or the
Yeah.
Tuesday before, sorry.
Happy
And
late birthday.
thank
I did
you.
say happy birthday now, but
You
anyway,
did. Thank you.
we'll do it again.
Um, but basically, I knew in the days leading up to birthday that I was on the verge of beginning this process again with you and Bart, and I knew that I would have to pick a day, on which to start. And I thought, oh, it can't be. Surely it can't be before my birthday. So I invited all my closest friends over, and we had, the last days of Rome. And I did. There's a, you know, most of the binging, as most addicts will attest to, is ugly, self-destructive, corporate manufactured junk food cooked in seed oil, tons of sugar, the real self-loathing binging. But there's another side to my gluttony, which I suppose is is more refined and epicurious and I'm a good cook, and I invested a lot of time over the last 10 years in cooking passionately, um, And interestingly, when I cook food uh, that's really high quality, like a restaurant quality risotto or pasta, or just beautiful roasted meats with glassy, crunchy roast potatoes, things like that, I don't binge eat. I just eat like a normal person when I do that, and that's that's something that um, I get quite emotional when I think about not being able to do that anymore. I become a little bit frightened that I'm going to lose part of my identity because on my birthday, I had all these wonderful people over my flat, and we had 7 courses of food, 9 bottles of wine,
Holy shit.
like charcuterie from Spain, fish cakes, like fried in guanciale fat, that's like the pig's cheek. Then we had like braised belly pork in this Chinese glaze, and then a massive tomahawk with roast potatoes, and then cheese, and then apple tart, and all of these things, which are made with a lot of love and a lot of passion. But the only thing that separates them from KFC, ultimately, in the context of the Randall cycle and elevated blood glucose, right? The only thing that separates it is seed oil, I guess. It's still a load of starches and sugars, maybe from a higher quality source, but it's still
Yeah.
killing me.
I mean,
And
yes,
you
you're
know,
clearly emotionally attached to that.
yeah, hugely,
Yeah.
because
But
I
you can cook
yeah
interesting carnivore foods. There is
mm,
a guy, I can't remember if he's calling himself the carnivore chef, doing lots of weird shit on YouTube. So take
yeah
that passion and start exploring what you could do that is, on protocol.
yeah maybe, but I mean I definitely want to do that, and
Mm.
that's going to be absolutely necessary to satisfy my need for culinary variety. But ultimately, when you're in a mild ketosis and you're fat adapted, you bring your friends over, and you have one course, and then you're totally satiated to the point where if you eat another bite, you'll retch. That is distinctly different from having highly palatable
Yeah,
starches on the plate, which all interrupt the signaling for
yeah,
satiation, and you can just keep going and going and going. So that the reality is, I appreciate your consolation, but the stark reality is that whole culture of like a
yes.
banquet that just goes on and on
That's what it's called, the
is
carnivorous chef.
oh yeah, I'll check it out. But yeah, that has to go, or it certainly has to go as a regular social fixture in my life. Maybe I don't know, once a year or something. But
Yeah,
but yeah, I have to let go of that. I have to let go of this instinct to bring my friends over and just cook the standard Western foods. Just
so
starch
I would
plus
like to kind
protein.
of bring you back to the things that you can do, because right now you're like, in a year's time I'm going to do this, maybe, or maybe I'm not going to do that, and I don't like letting go of this, and I don't like letting go of that. Everything is focused on what you have to give up, or maybe I can do this in the future. So there's a lot of mind drama going on there.
Yeah.
And I don't know if all of that mind drama is there because you choose to stay there because that's kind of like a safety mechanism for you to not actually let go of that, or
Well,
if there's something else behind that.
the last incident of it was just a couple of weeks ago. It's like I mean, like I said, I'm anticipating it becoming easier to position myself to let go of it.
Yeah.
I think the answer to that is very simple. Um, what few existential and spiritual and emotional benefits there are to the type of cooking and socializing I did a couple of weeks ago, they need to be dwarfed by the evident benefits of this new lifestyle, and they're not yet because I'm only 1 week in, and
Yeah,
so I'm still a lot closer to who I used to be than who I
of
shall
course,
be.
yeah. And just think about how many years you've been doing it. it's not going to go away in a week or a month or even 6 months. You're not going to be a completely new person who never thinks the way that the old Alex was thinking in 6 months. The thoughts are still going to be there. You're going to have the old habit loops there. But what you can do is introduce new ways of thinking, new ways of doing things, and new habit loops that you consciously choose that are becoming more and more present and becoming more and more of an automatic response. So that's where you want to move to. But
It
that
is.
requires you to focus on the one thing that I'm going to ask you to do. So the only thing that I want you to commit to is the process of actually allowing your cravings. And I want to talk about that in a second. But first, I want to ask you, do you think that you can complete the 6 months following this process? Do you feel confident that that can happen?
Yeah, like I'm ready. Like it's time. I absolutely feel confident, and I know I know the difference now. Before I was making excuses to allow milk to be a part of my carnivore journey,
Mm.
and I didn't realize that by having 100 grams of lactose a day, I was raising my blood glucose to such a degree that I was making the cravings worse. I was making the battle to overcome sugar addiction worse. Already after a week, I can feel the difference of having no carbs going in. There are, you know, there have been some mild cravings here or there, but mostly I'm just dealing with the withdrawal, the headaches and feverishness.
Okay, that's good.
But I think I anticipate not cravings per se, but what I'm anticipating is a lot of fear and a lot of self-destructive patterns of thinking, which will try to lure me back into
Mm.
binging again, and basically talk me out of going on this journey into the
We can
unknown.
deal with that. We can absolutely deal with those when they pop up and how to just, feel fear and not do anything about it. It's the same thing as feeling the cravings and not doing anything about it. Might be more uncomfortable, but it's still just another feeling that you have.
Yeah, it's. I mean, this journey is the ultimate existential journey. It is. It's like it is the most epic thing a person can do
Yeah.
because I have to stand in this identity no man's land, in this inertia between knowing who I was before, even though that
You
was a part
are
of, and
you're identifying as someone. Oh, sorry. So you are putting all your identity in your actions, what you did, how you behaved. But that doesn't necessarily mean that that is your identity. Because identity is a lot about your values, who you want to be. Just because you or someone else think, oh, Alex is always doing this or Alex is always doing that, that doesn't mean that that is who you are. Those are just actions that you have taken. Are you with me?
all right, well, okay, well, I'll replace the word identity with the word belief then. I'm, I
Okay.
don't, I know that I want to let go of my old self-limiting, self-destructive beliefs,
Mm.
but I can't just
So what is
crudely
a
and
belief?
violently, well, it's a statement, supposition, and assumption and assertion, all assumed to be true and relied upon either about one's internal world or external world. And I've I've bombarded myself with consistently over the years with beliefs of not having any self-worth, of not having any value to contribute to the world, and then used that as a rationalization to destroy myself because I convinced myself that there was nothing there to save. And I can't just replace that crudely and violently by crowbarring in new and positive beliefs. I have to. I understand now that I just need to be in this uncomfortable vacuum of just not knowing and seeing what happens and seeing what surfaces for me in terms of my thoughts and my new thoughts and my new behaviors and my new instincts, which will come um, as a result of um, not behaving addictively because
So
I'm not. Yeah,
how do you create a belief? You're not born with beliefs.
no, one attaches oneself to ideas, and that attachment is driven by forces and instincts which hide themselves very very effectively. And um, the whole process of believing in most cases is not rational. It's actually in a lot of cases it's emotional and it's very convenient. Um,
And do you know why you get them? It's because you're thinking this thing over and over again. So when you thought something a billion times, it's going to be a belief that you have. And that's why it's so hard to get rid of. That's also a neural pathway. The thinking is always the same because you've been thinking it so many times. So what you need to do to create new beliefs is that you need to think a different thing, and you can choose what to think. So you can choose what your new belief should be. Sometimes if your old belief is that I'm worthless, I can't do anything, whatever, you can probably not just jump straight to I'm great, I can do this, because that just feels very out of reach right now. But you can usually move slowly and just think thoughts around that makes you feel a bit more neutral. So rather than thinking that I'm useless, I can't do this, you can think I have a process and I can do this process for 6 months, for example, or a week or a day, wherever you want to start. I know what to do and I can do that. Rather than thinking I'm great, I can do it. Because that's just like, nah, nah, nah. My brain won't even touch that. So
well,
I want you to focus on what you can do rather than always coming back to, oh no, I can't do that. I've never been able to do that. Old Alex would never have been able to do that. And my family thinks that I'm this, my friends think that I'm that. Just ignore all of that and start creating new beliefs that you want to have. Create new thoughts that you want to think. And then think them. Like on purpose. It's going to be really awkward in the beginning, but if you keep thinking them and they keep popping up, if you need to put a post-it note on your fridge, whatever, just do that. Because then slowly this is going to become a new belief. Because if you every
I'll do it.
day actually think like, I can do this today, I'm going to allow my cravings today, I can do that. Eventually that's going to be your new habit. You know that you can do it. I'll see. Eat some pills as well, heal your back. So it's so
All right,
much
thanks.
about a lot what we are going to, I mean, we got stuck with you in the first part of the program, basically, which is allowing the cravings, know how to deal with that, etc. But the whole process, now we have 6 months and we're going to do this for a couple of months, but we're also going to go into actually changing who you are and where you want to go, who you want to be. So we're going to start that process as well, because you're going to have to change the way you're thinking about a lot of things. And I'm not going to tell you what to think. This is something that needs to come from you. and what you wanted to do with it. So if you still want to hate positive people, sure, do that. But I would recommend that maybe, you choose to want to be one of those people and not a forced
Yeah.
positivity. Not the, oh my God, everything is so great. I love that we have mandates and COVID restrictions. I don't want you to go there because that's not in accordance with your values. But there's always good in the bad.
No, I mean, for me, positivity doesn't have to exist in a vacuum outside of critical thinking.
Yeah.
It's just, there are people in the world who, actually, I don't know why I need to. Sorry, forget that. Me, I know that
Yes.
I know that
Yes.
I, multiple times over the last 2 years, have said something along the lines of, "Oh, I've always wanted to go to Vietnam and teach English and and learn an exotic Eastern
Mm.
language, but oh God, the fucking mandates, the restrictions, the discrimination against the unvaccinated." And I've said this sentence about 100 times in the last 2 years. The world is ruined. I've said that. Like, the world has been ruined. Travel has been ruined. People are, we look at people as virus first, person second. I could go on,
Yeah.
but but when I calm down and I'm less emotional, then I
Yeah.
start to think, more clearly, and I realize Vietnam 3 months ago, it wasn't permitting the unvaccinated in. Now it is.
Hmm.
It had a 2-week quarantine. Now it has a 5-day quarantine. They're currently continuing to make people wear masks outside. But hopefully by 2023, people will be able to take their masks off. The Southeast Asian countries seem to be, you know, they seem to be a year behind wonderful
Yeah.
places
So
like
things
Norway.
are changing,
Yeah.
and we don't really like change because we don't know what it's going to change into. And that's kind of normal. That's a completely normal human reaction. Our brains don't like things that they don't know about. It could get better, but it could also get worse. So let's just stick with what we have. And it's the same thing with eating behaviors. Well, it could get better, but actually, the steak doesn't light up my brain as much as this Mars bar does. So let's stick with the Mars bar.
Nah,
That's a
fuck
lot
Mars bars.
better.
They haven't been good for years.
Okay, whatever it is then.
Um, yeah,
Popcorn.
most chocolate bars have been ruined because back in the 90s they had butterfat in them. Now it's all seed oil, so they're not even
Yeah,
enjoyable anymore.
yeah.
But no, I agree with you, uh, and I have begun to notice a peculiar shift um, in my thinking, and I am I'm starting to see the value in being positive and starting to let go of some of that cynicism. Like, I'm a big fan of the Italian director Paolo Sorrentino, and he made a fantastic TV series which I recommend you watch. It's called The Young Pope. Have you ever seen The Young Pope with Jude Law?
Um, Wonder if I have. I
It's
keep
a
forgetting what I've seen, but it rings a bell. Yeah.
it's a masterpiece on HBO. Jude Law plays,
Okay.
the youngest pope
Maybe I haven't. Maybe I just read about
okay.
it.
Well, there's a scene where he's been elected to the papacy and he's dreaming, and in his dream he sat at a table in front of all the popes of old, and then they all fall silent, and he asks them with this desperate look in his eyes. He says, "I beseech you, I beg of you, confide into me the wisest thing you have ever learnt." And all of the popes confer among themselves, and then the leader sort of speaks and says, "Even more important than your belief in God, it is important to believe in yourself."
Hmm.
And then Jude Law just sits there and goes, uh, "Do you have anything better? I mean, That's a banal platitude.
Yes.
But then the Pope responds with, "You'd be surprised how true a banal platitude can be. After all, what are we? We are power, and power is a banal platitude." So I suppose a lot of things in the past, a lot of positions and the observations and mindsets which I came across, I deemed to be platitudinous and banal. And now I'm starting to see that that's actually irrelevant if those mindsets and those positions assist people in being more positive and
Yeah.
constructive. I have um, I have in an act of cruelty to myself, I've cut myself off from benefiting from entire spectrums of I suppose, emotional and psychological color, so that everything has to be a certain way in my mind and or sound a certain way. And yeah, I've suffered because of it. So I am now more open than I've ever been, but I'm also simultaneously more frightened than I've ever been because, as I said, um, I'm I'm losing I'm losing control over the over the identity I constructed over the last 2 decades. I'm losing it. It's the
No,
empire
you get to
of
choose now,
mm,
which is a beautiful thing when you can actually choose who you're going to be. Most people don't
indeed.
get to do that. Well, they get to do it, but they don't.
Well, there's something very, very romantically alluring about um, one convincing oneself that one is a victim of fate, that
Oh, yeah.
life
It's
life is
easy.
already predetermined and it's just unfolding. Um, it's very comforting, people, myself included, especially myself. I've become very, very attached to my pain, and
Yeah.
I don't want to let go of it. And destroying my body with sugar causes me more pain than anything else.
Mm.
That's why I do it. I do it to hurt myself ultimately. I do it to keep myself down.
Yeah, and you're not the only one. And yeah, we're getting a bit short of time, so I want to know how are you? You said you haven't had a lot of cravings this week.
Almost none at all, but I put that down to the fact that the withdrawal symptoms have been brutal. I've had because I've simultaneously given up caffeine and sugar, so I've got the caffeine, I've got the headaches, I've got the
So you give
toxins.
yourself pain anyway. Great.
Well, no, it's because I knew I'm a man of habit, and coffee, coffee. I I think I've been prudent in assuming that drinking coffee would would trigger a set of habits that would lead me back to the carbs. I believe I believe that's right. In fact I know that that's right because I want to give up caffeine and sugar. If I allowed myself to have the caffeine, some part of my brain would say, "Oh well, we've had the one thing that we want to give up.
Yeah,
Why not have
it's
both?"
just
So I
part of the
I
habit loop.
yeah, I knew I had to give up both and just
Yeah,
go for it. But someone invented ibuprofen, so
great. If it works, use it
it
for this
does.
week.
They deserve the Nobel Prize. I tell you, my headaches have been brutal.
Okay, so I know not everyone who's watching is maybe familiar with the process, but you definitely are. So you know what your triggers are. You know that those triggers will cause you to think a certain way, and then you will get a craving. So this is where we can start right now. So what I want you to do is that every time you have a craving, I do want you to write it down. And I don't necessarily want you to do this just so that you can avoid eating whatever it is that you crave. I want you to do this because I want you to emotionally detach from the craving. I want you to get it down on paper and make this a habit. Because for you to form a new habit loop and a new neural pathway, you need to practice it. So if you're like, well, everything's fine, I don't really have any cravings, they're just not very strong, and you ignore them, you don't get to practice. So you're not getting any further along. You're just kind of relying on your cravings not being there. But I want to attack the cravings and change your response to those cravings. So whether your cravings are very mild or very severe, it doesn't matter. I just want you to do this. So this is part of the process. This is what you need to do to start reprogramming your brain. Deal?
Aye, aye, Captain.
Right. So
That which you command, I shall obey.
yes. So every craving that you have, get your pen, your paper out, write down what you're thinking and how that feels in your body, like the
Okay.
physical signs of that craving.
Yeah, it's a threefold note, isn't it? It's what I'm thinking, what I'm feeling, and then a situation associated with it, like a trigger.
Yeah, that's a trigger. You can write the trigger down or not. That's not as important because you will, as long as you write down what you're thinking, because the thinking can sometimes you notice it, sometimes you don't, but it usually precedes the actual physical craving. So as long as you get the thinking down, if you can find the thought and the physical craving, I'm happy. You can
Okay.
write the situation down if you want to. And then you can also write down, like, okay, this is how long it took before it disappeared.
I figured out one of the reasons why I wasn't doing that consistently before. It's because I was doing it on my laptop, and getting the laptop out was a pain in the balls. So
Yeah,
I'm going
make
to
it
do it on
easy.
I'm going to do it on my phone now. So I'm going to have like a
Yeah.
note open just for this, and then I'll just add to it.
And
Um,
next week when we're coaching, I want to know exactly how many cravings you have had.
and a craving includes the thought to go and binge.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
because
that can be a
sometimes,
non-specific craving. I've had that because I've had like over 10 days of headaches and then that ended with a migraine, which actually I think is gone today. Like yesterday I still had like a migraine hangover. And when I'm feeling like that, I want to just eat. I don't care what I'm eating. It could be meat and cheese and whatever, but I just want to eat. So that's kind of a non-specific craving, but often there will be like if I'm going out and I'm eating a lot of meat and cheese and whatever, then well, what now? Now I want to eat more, and that is usually something carby or something sweet in my case. So it's like a binge binge craving, I suppose. But
yeah.
a few days ago, I have no idea because I'm not even a popcorn person. I just had a craving for popcorn, and I don't know where it came from. I cannot identify the thought other than, "Oh, I want popcorn." And
I
then
mean,
it wasn't even there for long. It just kind of flew by, and that's fine. It wasn't a
well, I mean,
compulsive thing. I just had it, and I
my
noticed it.
my best guess would be, in our childhood, I'm sure you can remember that insatiable cocktail of the cinema and the popcorn that, you know, being bombarded,
Not for me.
the bombardment of the senses watching some Michael Bay explosion fest while shoveling in a bucket of popcorn into your face it's a dopamine extravaganza for 2 hours. So I think
Yeah.
that's certainly why I eat popcorn, is to remind myself
Oh,
of
I was pick and mix.
pick and mix. Okay.
It's huge in Sweden.
Yeah.
Yeah, much bigger than in the UK. When I got to the UK, I was like, "What is this? They have like 5 things to choose from?" I was like, "That's not pick and mix, that's bullshit."
Yeah.
I stopped
The
eating it.
pick and mix was a big thing in the 90s, but then it diminished.
Okay. It was big in Sweden. It's a huge thing, and they have so many different things you can choose from. So it's just like fill your bag. So yeah, no popcorn for me. So yeah, if anyone who's watching have any questions, get them in now, and we will answer them. Otherwise, we are gonna be wrapping up in a second. So that's your homework, and that's ongoing homework. I want you to do this for this whole month. So for 4 weeks, this is what you will be practicing.
Hmm.
And then we're gonna switch it up a little bit, depending on maybe a little bit sooner, maybe a little bit later, depending on where you're at. But I want you to really make sure that you get all those cravings down on paper or your phone, in this case, wherever you choose, and just do that, because that's all you need to do, like reprogram the brain. When you are writing it down, you are going to emotionally detach from that craving. It will happen. But sometimes you just have to sit with it for a while. And depending on how you feel next week, maybe we can go into like how to just process and move through the cravings. But right now, I think we'll just start here, let you do that and see where you go with that.
All right.
Sounds good?
You have my word.
Yes, good. Excellent. I cannot see any questions, so we are actually finished for today. So if you didn't know already, we are going to be back at this time, same day, same time, for 6 months. So that's 26 weeks. So another 25 weeks, I suppose, doing the coaching, see what is happening to Alex and how his cravings develop and his habits and maybe some results as well. Oh, and here's Shell, just when we're wrapping up. That's fine, Shell.
Hello,
You can
Shell.
come back next week. You don't have to do dusters today, but you're more than welcome to be on time next week.
For the record, I weighed myself a week ago, and I was exactly
Okay.
300 pounds, and I weighed myself this morning,
Right.
and I'm 293. So that's 7 pounds in a week. But of course,
293. Okay. Shall we have a weekly weight recording as well then?
yeah,
So you
every day.
lost 7 pounds, 1 pound per day. Perfect. That's a
But I
good
imagine some
sustainable.
of that was water.
Yeah, it would be. That's all right. Okay. And Beth, lovely. She's doing it with you. Oh, yes. I should probably mention this as well. On the 4th of April, I'm starting a Master Your Cravings 4 week kind of boot camp, which will be in a private Facebook group. You will have to sign up for that one. I'm going to put the link in the comments, or yes, in the comments of this video later on, because I didn't put it in the description. So go and check that and sign up there if you want to be part of that group. So literally, I'm going to take you through the first month of what I'm usually doing with my clients in that group. And Alex would come in and maybe help, or maybe just show his face, maybe be on one of the live streams. We'll see. So I will be teaching a little bit in there on a weekly basis, starting Monday, the 4th of April, US time. I forget, but somewhere a little bit later than now. And yeah, so we will do it week by week. You will get some homework as well that you can do so that you can learn how to master your cravings, basically. So that's pretty much what we will be doing on the live streams as well for 4 weeks, but I'm doing it in a coaching format, actually working with Alex. Good, Beth. I'm looking forward to seeing you. So awesome. Any last words, Alex, since it's your stream?
Just a sincere thank you to you and all of your viewers. And yeah, it's again, I really want to make a contribution, and I'm really, really excited to see what happens because, yeah, a
Me too.
future without addiction has been my only dream for as long as I can remember. Is just to be free. So by helping me, you've given me the opportunity to save myself. So a sincere thank you to all of you.
Awesome. That's great. I'm not going to say your name. PD, I am sorry gone one. Looking forward to seeing you too. And I won't know that it's you because that's probably not your real name. Anyhow, thank you, Alex. Thank you for actually doing this on the live stream. I think that it would be really helpful for a lot of people, just because addiction is the same in everyone. So we kind of associate, and you will be surprised. Most people have the same problems as you to some
Yeah,
degree with a
yeah,
variation. And then they can just take whatever I'm saying to you at heart and just take it from there themselves. So
yeah, yeah. I've
it
sat
would be
in
great.
12-step meetings in circles of people, from every walk of life, every demographic, and they're just like me.
Hmm.
Male, female, old, young.
Yep.
They're all. It's just a room full of me, basically.
Yeah, we're fucked in the head, all of us. On that note, I think we're gonna end. So thank you so much. I will see you all next week.
Bye.